What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to TTP Sports. And yes, it has been a while since I have posted anything because I had a lot of personal issues going on the past couple of weeks, and also the end of school was starting to wrap up because the semester just ended a couple days ago and finals are here. So I just want today to make a couple of videos, put them out there so I can just talk sports and just clear my head. So, and of course, when I go inactive over the past couple of weeks, some really big news happens out of the Flyers organization as Chris Pryor and Ron Hextall have been fired from their duties as general manager and an assistant general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers organization. And this was, at the time of the firing, I did not expect this happening. I honestly thought it was just like a coaching change that needed to be made or just a trade. But as the weeks and days went on, like reading articles over, like Hextall had people inside of the team that were feeding him information about other things. He wouldn't let people in. He was really closed-minded to himself and just the people that he talked to. He never really let Hextall do anything. Hextall controlled everything that was on the ice. He controlled the goaltending, who started that night. He controlled who was benched, who was put into the lineup, and all that stuff. Hextall never really had 1 ounce of control. So, I'm still iffy about Hextall just because we've had him for so long and it's been just a bunch of mediocre mess the past couple of years since he's been hired. But honestly, I do think the change with Hextall had to be made because Hextall was so keen on his plan of building this team through the draft and making sure we're better and building our farm system. And yes, I will credit Hextall because our farm system is one of the best in the NHL, but he forgot the product that was on the ice, specifically the goaltending, because our goaltending ranks right now are some of the worst in the NHL right now. And putting veterans out there like Brian Elliott and Michael Neuvirth, who are constantly injury prone and getting injured as soon as they step onto the ice. I'm not discrediting Brian Elliott because when he was on the ice sometimes this year he's looked pretty good, but he's getting to that point of age where he can easily get injured. And Michael Neuvirth's a whole different story because when he steps on the ice, his lung collapses. It's just something like that. As you can tell from the game in Winnipeg on Sunday, he was just not there. He allowed easy goals, he just didn't look prepared for anything, and he brought Stolarz in just to get flattened by the Winnipeg Jets. So, right now, the Flyers sit 12-13-3 going into the night's game against Calgary. And honestly, I don't know what to expect from the rest of the season. I'm kind of done with this team right now, just the way, like, even though we did hire Chuck Fletcher, like, I'm still I just want to see what he can do first, because, yeah, he's not going to come in and instantly make a move because he needs to observe the team, what he thinks needs to be fixed. But he did fire the assistant coach Murphy, which was a decent, probably change that needed to be made because of how much our defense was struggling. And I don't know, because you get Provorov struggling, you got Gostisbehere struggling, and our best defensemen right now are Radko Gudas, sadly, and Sanheim is starting to push up the level of becoming one of our best defensemen, and recent stats has shown he's one of the best defensemen on our team right now. So hopefully with the new the assistant coach that came in for the defense, hopefully that he gives Sanheim more time, because Sanheim, once Murphy was fired, he had a really excellent game, and he scored 2 goals, so hopefully Sanheim starts to build his confidence up. I really don't know what to expect from the Flyers right now. I think what this team needs is just a reshape. Like, I'm not saying full-on blown rebuild. I think this team needs a retool, which means shake up the core a little bit, which honestly means that anyone on this team is not untouchable. The only person I can really say is untouchable is Claude Giroux, just because he's that type of guy you don't trade away. He's your franchise player, and he's in his prime right now. And also because of his contract, and he has a no trade clause, so I doubt he wants to be traded anyway. So players that I can see as not untouchable are players like Jake Voracek. But Voracek, yeah, his contract is not the friendliest for any other team, so it might be really difficult to get rid of Voracek. You might have to even retain salary if you even wanted to trade him. Wayne Simmons, yes, he's been the keen eye on the Flyers getting rid of probably before by the trade deadline, because as all the rumors came out after Hextall got fired, it said he was nowhere close to re-signing Simmons. They couldn't get anywhere. So I'm not sure if Chuck Fletcher is looking to re-sign Simmons for his team. I think he's more looking to trade it away, get some assets for him, even though Simmons has been on the decline for the past year and a half now, so I'm not sure how much his value is to another team. I think he's more valuable to a contender than a team that's say, where we are right now, or a rebuilding team. I don't think he provides any value to those teams. He provides more of a value to a team that is in contention for a playoff spot or a Stanley Cup. So if you were to trade Simmons, if you trade him to a contender, maybe you could sneak a first-round pick out of him, and maybe a low-end prospect, maybe. I'm not sure what you can get for Simmons with the value he is at right now. But even then, other players that could be trade bait possibly, I can see Sean Couturier. I could see Shane Gostisbehere even being trade bait. Gostisbehere has been struggling a lot lately. Well, this whole season he's been struggling. I don't know what's wrong with him. Is it a confidence thing? Most likely. Is it also that the power play is struggling? Possibly, because last year the power play was one of the things that was stealing us games, and Gostisbehere was playing really good last year because the power play was so good. And he is the back horse of that power play, and with the power play struggling as it is this year, we're at least between 28th and 31st in the league on the power play. So Gostisbehere's not getting points on the power play, which means he's also struggling at 5-on-5. I'm not sure. Gostisbehere, yeah, he can be trade bait. You can get a lot back for Gostisbehere. You can get possibly 2 first-round picks for Ghost. You can get a high-end prospect, maybe. You could probably even get a good roster player, because right now I think what this team needs is a top 4 veteran defenseman that can help guide these teams, because Andrew MacDonald, Radko Gudas, they are not the veteran defenseman this young core needs, because they're not good defensemen, sadly. And then you have the goaltending situation right now with Anthony Stolarz. He's looked the best so far out of all of our goaltending this year. Brian Elliott, he's been injured for the past couple of weeks, but it's been rumored that he might start a game on this Western Canadian road trip. It's not today, obviously, because it hasn't been announced yet. So if Brian Elliott does start a game, it's probably either going to be in Edmonton or Vancouver. But right now, I would say ride Anthony Stolarz, because he has looked the best, and he's made timely saves when we need him. But just the one thing that I'm concerned with Stolarz is right now is the way he plays in the net, because he is a 6'6", 6'7" goaltender, and he plays incredibly small for his size. One game I can see is the game against Columbus. There were some shots that were deflected and some weren't his fault, but when I see him play, he gets so low into the butterfly that pucks go right over his shoulder. He's a 6'6" goaltender. Pucks should not be going over his shoulder. So, I think over the time and course, Stolarz will improve the net. He's still young. He still is capable of being a starter in the NHL. And Hextall really never gave him that second chance after he had that stint of injuries last year. So, I prefer Stolarz being in the net right now, but I still do think we need I would say a veteran backup that is going to be committed to being a backup next year. I'm not, what goaltender out there is available that is going to commit to being a backup next year? Because Holmgren was so keen on the Flyers. We need a goaltender. We need a goaltender that can help us the rest of the season. But if you're going out there and acquiring a goaltender, is he going to be committed to being a backup next year if you're expecting Carter Hart to come up next season and be a starter? Which right now, at the beginning of the season in the AHL, Carter Hart wasn't looking so hot. But yeah, over the past couple of games, he's been looking pretty solid. He's even got his first career pro shutout, which is hopefully a sign in the right direction for Hart. Just right now, I don't want to rush Hart. I don't want to rush his development. I just want him to get used to the pro game and learn to build his confidence so he can come up into the NHL and not struggle. So, right now, I really think the Flyers just need to retool. Honestly, there's no... I think coming back this season, where right now we're 12, 13, and 3, I really don't see us looking into contention for the playoffs. Right now, I just say keep the path right now and just look to trade away assets so we can retool, reshape the core a little bit, and build for next season and on and so forth. I know I see like a lot of people on Instagram and Twitter saying tank for Jack Hughes, but I don't think the Flyers organization will accept tanking right now because there's so many high expectations for his team. Hextall set out his plan for us to be in contention for a Stanley Cup with like in a year or so, but who knows how far Hextall's plan was actually going to last because we've been mediocre in and out of the playoffs ever since he's been here. Yes, he's been a really excellent drafter, but he needed to realize the product on the ice was struggling. And yes, he's built a contender down in the AHL, but the NHL team is what matters right now. And he did not do a good job of that, which I will say about him. So, I don't know, there's also struggling players like on our team right now, even the rookies like Nolan Patrick, he is struggling right now. I don't know what's wrong with him. Oscar Lindblom, I don't know if it was the fact that Lindblom was struggling because he was put on the fourth line right after we came back from our Western Californian road trip, where he and Patrick were just dominating that whole road trip. And ever since Lindblom and Patrick have been separated, they both haven't been able to do anything. Lindblom's been playing 5 minutes a game on the fourth line, and Patrick's line mates have been scrambled up and down between like Voracek, Weiss, and all that. Now he's playing with Voracek and Simmons. So is it a confidence thing with Nolan Patrick, or is it a thing that he's not playing with the right line mates? Which honestly, I think it's a little bit of both. Because you can build confidence when you're playing with the right line mates, but since he's probably playing with people that he's not comfortable playing with, his confidence can probably be shot too. Because Nolan Patrick, when he's on his game, yes, he can carry a line, but I think he needs the right players to play with, and Lindblom right now was his best player to play with. Because those two looked like they just had a lot of chemistry together. And yeah, you can also say him and Travis Konecny have a lot of chemistry together, but Konecny has been great on that first line with Claude Giroux. So I would rather keep Konecny with Giroux. Am I saying put Patrick on the first line so he can play with Claude Giroux so Giroux can make him better? No, but that would be nice, but no, I'm not saying that. I think Patrick needs to play on the third line possibly, so he can probably play against the lower end of other teams like their third and fourth line, so he could probably build confidence, because last year he was playing on the third line and he was playing really good. So I think that's what he needs just to build his confidence up a little bit. And I'm not saying Patrick's a bust or anything. No, he is definitely not a bust. He is still too early in his career to say he is a bust. It's the same with Provorov. Provorov is not a bust. I think it is, right now with Provorov, it's a lack of confidence because everyone's saying it's the lingering idea of a contract hanging over his head, which possibly could be a reason why he is struggling. Or it's an undisclosed injury that he's not telling anyone. Because he was injured in the playoffs last year against Pittsburgh, and he played that game 6 where he said, if both of my arms and both of my legs were attached, I am playing. So, could it be just a nagging injury that's bothering Provorov? Possibly, but right now I just think it's a confidence issue, and he's struggling with that contract lingering over his head. Thinking that he has to be the best player that he possibly can be to earn a contract. But, yeah. So right now, untouchables right now are just basically Claude Giroux. I would even say possibly Travis Konecny is an untouchable, just because he's been playing good on that first line, and he still has a lot of potential to grow, because I'm not saying, like, Konecny's not struggling or anything, but yeah, he gets cold and hot, but playing with a line Giroux, he does have sparks of, he looks good on the ice, he just gets snake binned a little bit, he just can't finish. So that comes with over time, he learns, he's still very young, he's like 21, so he can learn to finish more, but honestly, the point, I think going into the end of the season, I think the Flyers just need to not focus on contending for a playoff spot right now and just look at how to fix this team going into next season, because I really think we're just done for playoff contentions this season. So, what do you guys think about the Flyer situation right now. What are your opinions about Chuck Fletcher? How do you think he is going to improve this team? What do you want to see him improve this team? Like, is it by trading? Is it by free agent signings? What do you think? Just bring up all the young guys and let them see what they can do? Who knows? Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, boys, and I'll see you in the next video.